My name is Mr. Cleophas, and I want us to go through past paper question. A lot of people, or many people, they have demanded me to do some videos for advanced auditing and assurance, but I do the past paper questions so that they can get assisted. So those who are doing section 6 and also section 4, I want to do one question in a very summary way and in a very good way to make you understand a past paper question which covers almost a topic, and I know it's going to help you in also doing in the forthcoming exam or as you prepare for your exams. And I will start with a question which was examined in the pilot paper, not really pilot paper. This was in the November 2015 after the change of the kasneb syllabus. In 2015, there was a question which was set, question number 5, November 2015. So that is what we shall be doing, November 2015, and I'll do question number 5. So ensure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel so that also you can give my channel mileage. And now for those who want to more classes, maybe they want to be taught how to answer this section 6 advanced auditing and assurance questions, you can just give me a call through my number which is there, and I'm very sure I'll help you to pass this exam within even the shortest time you shall be having, because it is a paper I've mastered very well how it is examined, the areas you need to be aware of, how to answer the questions, the past paper questions. So ensure that you subscribe, and in case of anything, keep in touch with me. So I read the question November 2015, question number 5. I want to read that question. It says, you are a manager in an audit firm and double up as the head of the forensic investigation department. Your audit firm has recently been appointed the auditors of Afro-Kin Manufacturers Limited for the year ending 31st December 2015. The directors of Afro-Kin Manufacturers Limited have contacted your audit firm regarding a suspected fraud relating to the company's payroll. You have been assigned to undertake a forensic investigation and have held preliminary discussions with the finance director of the company. The finance director suspects that the accountant, who had been absent from work after the finance director queried the increasing costs of overtime and casual workers' payments, could be involved in some fraudulent activities. Required Roman 1, Part A, describe 3 objectives of a forensic investigation. Part B, explain the procedure you would follow to gather evidence on the suspected payroll fraud. Then Part C, assess how the Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants should be used in the provision of the Forensic Investigation Service to Afro-Kin Manufacturers Limited. So that is a total of, the first part is just 3 marks, the other one is 12 marks, the other one is 5 marks. So that is a total of 20 marks. 20 marks is a lot of marks in an exam. Now we need to start with Part A. Part A says, describe 3 objectives of a forensic investigation. 3 objectives of a forensic investigation. Remember, forensic investigation is about fraud investigation, and this is one of the common topics we are going to, or which is examined in kasneb exams, because of many corruption cases in the world and also in our country, Kenya. we have evidence in many cases of fraud investigation, of forensic investigation. We have been having case after another relating to corruption as one of the main areas. If you're asked about the types or the application of forensic investigation, one is investigating corruption, fraud. We have another one where there is asset misappropriation, fraud. So when investigating the asset misappropriation, fraud, like cash theft, inventory theft, etc. Then we also have what we call the misstatement of the financial statements. Sometimes the owners of the company or the directors of the company may decide to misstate financial statements of the company, where the company is doing very poorly financially, by either concealing some of the expenses of the company, and by doing so, that makes the profit of the company to be high. So that is to improve the liquidity analysis of the company. So concealing some of the evidences, knowing, or the expenses, knowing, thus leading to increase or improvement in the profitability of the company. And they are knowing very well whatever they are doing, it is wrong. They are doing it maybe to attract potential investors, to improve the company's performance or the company's appearance in the public. So that is also a type of fraud. Again, another application of forensic is about terrorist financing. If we have been experiencing in different countries many cases of terrorist attacks, and all these terrorists, they have been financed or funded. So the forensic investigators can be contacted or can conduct that investigation and determine whether fraud actually took place, or the people also who are involved in financing the terrorists. Again, when solving matrimonial disputes, like in US, where people, they marry, or the marriage is on contractual basis and it is allowed, it is also very, very possible for this to happen, because at the end of the contract, or when you want to terminate your contract or to end the contract, then you need to share the wealth you have accumulated together. And by doing so, you may reach a point where you are not in agreement with the two partners. They are not agreeing, or when it comes to sharing the wealth, they may decide to invite or to involve a forensic investigator to determine how much each person should get at the end of the contract. Again, when solving the partnership disputes, partners sometimes they end up having a lot of conflicts, and when it comes to sharing profits and losses, the conflicts do not or may arise, and they need a solution or somebody to bring this to the end or to bring a solution to that. They may consider engaging forensic investigators or forensic auditors to bring a solution when such disputes arise. So that is one, or those are some of the areas you may apply forensic. Back to our question. When you are doing an investigation, you need to know some of these objectives of the forensic investigation, because forensic investigation, the owners of the company or the people who have called for the investigation, they are suspicious that fraud could have or may have taken place. Since they are not sure of whether the fraud has taken place, what needs to be done? The first objective for these investigators or the forensic auditors is to determine whether fraud actually took place. So that is one of the main objectives. So to determine whether fraud actually took place. Again, we have the people involved in the fraud. We need also to identify them. That is one of the main objectives. So another one, to identify the fraudsters or the suspects. Whenever fraud occurs, again, you need to know company must suffer some financial loss. So you must determine the amount of financial loss suffered by the company due to the fraud. So to determine financial loss suffered by the company. Suffered by the company due to the fraud. Another objective, remember, you need enough evidence so that you can present to the people who appointed you. So that's another thing, to gather evidence. And this evidence will be used in court because the fraud is a criminal act. So to be used in court. To be used in court proceedings. Another objective. The examiner needed just 3 objectives. These the 5th one. Another objective, you need also to know how did this fraud occur? Which scheme was used? Did they use the payroll scheme? Is it about the fictitious sales? Is it about fictitious creditors? etc. etc. So to determine the fraud scheme used, you can say e.g. payroll scheme. Right, another one. So those are some of the objectives. So remember, as the fraud or the fraud investigator or the forensic investigator, you need also to advise the company on how they can avoid similar frauds from occurring in the future. That is one of the main reasons also behind carrying out the investigation. So to give recommendation or to provide recommendation on how to avoid similar frauds from occurring in the future. Similar frauds from occurring in the future. So that is what the examiner needed. I've given 6, they needed 3. So please, you can just master. And it's a very common area in exam. Ensure that forensic, those who are reading for their exams, if you are doing any topic either in section 4 CPA students or in section 6 for the CPA students who are doing section 6 exam, and they are doing advanced auditing and assurance, it is one of the common topics in kasneb exams and in any other exam on with the topic forensic. Right, let me go to the next one, the next part of that question. I'll do question part B of the question. Let me wrap this part so that we can write also on the board. For those who are following very keenly, they will have to go through this and get all the information they need. And do not forget that I am a lecturer at Regional College. Regional College is located at Commonwealth House in Nairobi, the city of Kenya. Nairobi is the capital city of Kenya. That is where we are. You can just visit us for more and more courses offered there. You can meet me in person and we can get in touch with each other and we can discuss more apart from only the YouTube classes I'm doing. I am also there physically teaching many students. Indeed, we are having many students. It is a college which has grown very big within a very short period of time, and it is having very qualified and competent lecturers who can simplify concepts. The way I'm doing it here, you'll get also other units we taught by other lecturers, they are being simplified, and we make the work of our students very easy because also time is a limiting factor for most of the students. We try to enable them grasp every concept you're teaching. So do not forget to join Regional College. It is at Commonwealth House. Come to 5th floor. You will find us there. You'll just be attended in a very good way with our front office people and managers there. So let's proceed to part B of the question. That is the main reason we're here. Now, it says, explain the procedure you would follow. So this is what we call the procedure for the fraud investigation or for forensic investigation. So this is the procedure for the suspected payroll fraud part, which is 12 marks. And I will just explain and get it from me and from my mouth that forensic investigation, it is very similar, or it is very common in many ways, or similar in many ways, with a normal audit. Because most of the stages of forensic investigation, they are also the stages of a normal or financial audit. And due to that, you will have to, most of these stages required here, or the procedure to be followed when there is a suspicion of fraud, they are the same. Also very common to a normal audit. The first thing when you're doing the investigation, because you shall be appointed by the company or by the directors or the owners of a company, whenever they are suspicious of a fraud case in the company, they need to appoint you and to request you to carry out the investigation. Being appointed is one thing, accepting the investigation or accepting the appointment is another thing. So the first thing is accepting the investigation. That is the first stage of procedure number 1. So accepting the investigation. Accepting the investigation is the procedure number 1 under fraud investigation or forensic investigation. For you to accept this investigation, or whenever you're explaining to the examiner when you're being asked, you need to consider many things before you accept to be the forensic investigator. One is the independence of your firm. So when explaining, you need to combine these words and then construct a simple statement. So as the forensic investigator or the investigating team or the investigating firm, consider the independence of the firm before you accept to be the forensic investigator. And this one, because we have, if you're the auditor of the company, and again the forensic auditor, the forensic investigator, there is the threat which you refer to the familiarity threat. We also have the intimidation threat can also be there. We also have the advocacy threat under the types of threats. Also self-review, because at the same time you're providing multiple services to the company, then it may amount to self-review threats. And also the self-interest threat, etc. So those are the threats which may arise. And the common one under this, when you are the auditor and at the same time the forensic investigator, the self-review threat is very, very common. Again, you must ascertain whether you are as the firm or as the individual investigator. You have the required knowledge, the required professional knowledge. So professional knowledge and skills. Again, you also need to consider your experience in doing such services and offering such services, experience of the firm or the auditor or the investigating team. The investigating team or the firm. Again, we must also talk about the commercial aspects, because this is a specialized, it needs specialized skills, the forensic investigation, and we have senior auditors being involved, so the fee must be high. So commercial aspect is also very important. Commercial aspects in terms of the professional fee or the service fee. So that one will help you to get the marks under the accepting the investigation as the first stage of forensic. After you accept the investigation, you need to do what we call planning the investigation. Planning the investigation. Remember, proper planning enables you to reduce chances of giving wrong conclusion. And that is why under planning you need to know the objectives we have talked about under Roman 1. So when you are saying about planning, you just explain and say proper planning of the investigation reduces the chances of giving a wrong or invalid conclusion. So that is under planning. After you plan your work or the investigation, you need now to gather evidence. So gathering evidence. And when you're explaining about gathering evidence, you need to just briefly say, the investigator should gather or collect sufficient evidence to be used in court. Sufficient evidence to be used in court. Sufficient evidence to be used in court. So that is stage number 3. After the third stage, you need to go to the fourth stage. So the fourth stage, I'll have it here. The fourth stage, I'll have it here. After now, we have gathered enough evidence to be used in court. Then, number 4, we need to report to the appointing authority. So reporting. So the investigating team needs to report to the appointing authority. And this report should have, so the report should have a summary, of 1, the evidence gathered. Another thing should be in the report, names of the suspects, stroke the fraudsters. In this report, we need also to give a summary on the loss suffered by the company. Loss suffered by the company. After now we are through with the reporting to the appointing authority, we need to now go to the last step or the last stage in forensic investigation. And the last stage in forensic investigation is court proceedings. Court proceedings. Remember, this is a criminal act. Fraud is a criminal act, and the owners of the company, they may decide to take these suspects or to go to court, that maybe they can be compensated. So the fraud investigators or the forensic investigators shall be called in court to explain to the court how they determined the suspects to present that evidence. And thus, they need to explain to the non-accountants and everyone involved in the court case to understand how the process was carried out and how these investigators, they came to know and identify the suspects. So the investigating team needs to explain in lame person's language or in simple language to enable even the non-accountants who do not understand the accounting terminologies understand the whole process and get in to know whatever happened for the fraud to occur. So that is what you explain under the court proceedings. You explain and say the investigating team or the firm shall be called in court to explain to the court how the whole process occurred or how the fraud was perpetrated. And they need to explain in lame person's language the whole process on how they conducted the investigation. So that is what was expected to get you 12 marks. Now we go to part C. Part C of the question says, assess how the code of ethics for professional accountants. So I want to cover the code of ethics for professional accountants can be applied in forensic, and I shall just be listing the first one, like integrity. So integrity is very key. It means being honest, truthful, sincere, and transparent. The forensic investigators, they need to be very honest. They need to be very sincere with the client in the whole process of the investigation. So that is about integrity. It is one of them. Number 2 is confidentiality. Confidentiality. Then I want to explain the confidentiality and say, now the investigating team or the forensic investigators, they should keep the secrets of the company which they come across in the course of the investigation. So they should not disclose the company's confidential information to other parties, because that is unethical unless under some circumstances when they can be required to just disclose that information. Then we have number 3 is independence. Independence. The investigating team or the forensic investigators should possess the required level of independence to ensure that they are giving quality services, or they are not compromising the services. Remember, independence is very key, and even a normal audit with the definition requires the auditor to be independent, because independence also disqualifies some people from being appointed as auditors of the company. So the investigating team should ensure that the people involved in carrying out the investigation or the team is having the required level of independence. So that is under independence. You can also add another one, which is the professional behavior. Professional behavior. So you just need to explain and say the investigating team or these forensic investigators or the fraud investigators are required under the professional behavior. They are required